Yeah, our team's excited to be back in front of our students and fans of the Rock. This Saturday, it's going to be homecoming and Black Saturday. It's especially to honor our seniors who have given so much of themselves to this university, this program for the last 4 to 5 years. And our goal is to be 1-0. There's a very good JMU team to send our seniors out the right way.
Appreciate that, Coach. We'll start off with Mike Barber. Mike?
Morning, Coach.
Morning.
I'm curious, when you look at James Madison offensively, obviously the big plays are such a big factor for them. What are the keys to limiting that, and how important will pass rush and getting some pressure be?
Well, first off, they have a very good football team, and again, their offense can make the explosive plays. But we have to be really good on first down, and if it's going to be second and short all day long, it's going to be a long day for us. But the quarterback makes it difficult on you. They have great skill positions. I'm really impressed with their offensive line, how well they've gelled, and how well they're playing right now. So you watch their tape. There's a reason why they're 8-2 and playing really good football right now.
How would you evaluate your pass rush ability to get pressure, and how important do you think that'll be Saturday?
Well, we have a lot of room to improve for sure. It's going against a very good offensive line who has coached very well, and they do a great job with their protections, who they're sliding in front to. And but it's going to be important for us as well. I mean, we have some good players on defense that can rush the passer, but we have to win our one-on-one battles.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go over to Sam. Sam?
Coach, can you talk about the development of your offensive line over the year and really these past 2 weeks being able to rush for almost 200 yards and over 200 yards one of the two games? How important has that been to the success of your team of late?
Well, it's really improved our offense to be able to run the football like we are, like we have been the last 2 weeks. I mean, it does help. It takes some of the pressure off our quarterback that he's not throwing the ball 40 times a game. So Coach Cummings done a really good job with those guys. And again, it takes time. I've coached the offensive line for 20 years, and the best lines that I've ever coached are teams that have played together. And this is a whole new unit coming in this year. It hasn't played much at all together, and they've gotten better week by week. So we have to keep improving. I know they're working hard at that. So again, that'll be one of our goals this week, to run the football.
And then, Coach, with 2 weeks left in the regular season, still have the opportunity for bowl eligibility. Is that something you talk to the guys about, or you just focus on kind of one game at a time, and obviously James Madison as the next opponent coming up?
No, our goal is to be 1-0, and we have enough to worry about with James Madison. We can't look down the road, but it's going to be a great college football game. Sold out crowd here at the Rock, and again, that's what you want. And it's having a really good game between two great programs, and I'm sure it won't be any different this year.
All right, we'll go over to Hayden Humley. Hayden?
Hey, Coach, I'm just curious if there's any emotions in the locker room, anything different about facing James and Madison, kind of with the rivalry that's been created over the past 2 seasons. For some of the returners, is there anything different about this game?
I don't think it's any different in our locker room. This is what you want to play for in November. Two really good programs. The last two times we played, it's been really good football games. They won here in 22. We went up there in overtime in 23, and I mean, it's just two great fan bases, two great programs, and this is what you want in college football.
All right, thank you, and thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very tough loss for our team. I thought we continue to show improvement. I thought we got better, but you can't turn the ball over 4 times on the road, and one of them resulting in a score, and the other resulting in the ball being placed on the -2 yard line. So it's tough to recover from that when those things happen.
All right, thank you, Coach. We'll start off with Mike Barber. Mike?
Morning, Coach.
Morning.
As you get into your study for these guys this weekend, what jumps out offensively about what they do?
I mean, well coached, number one. I think quarterback's playing at a really high level. They're dynamic, and they can run the ball effectively and they can throw the ball effectively. So it's one of the games where you've got to be dialed into your assignments. You got to make sure that you got good eye discipline, that you're reading your keys and doing the right things. Because, like I said, French is playing well. They're running the ball well. They're big up front. They do a really good job.
I think they're maybe a little bit of a surprise to some people this year. Have you seen them, I don't know, gel or come together here as the year goes on? It maybe gain some confidence.
Yeah, I think they've been playing well though all year. I mean, they've played some really good opponents too. And, they've been able to hang in every ball game, if not, win them. And it's one of the things I think they got good veteran leadership. Even at linebacker, with the Trent kid, he provides leadership on offense. Like Francis played for him. They got some veteran guys that have done some things. So they've been in a lot of battles, and you can see that with them. You can see that they've been able to hang in there together as a unit and keep fighting, and being able to pull out those victories.
Thank you.
Go over to Sam. Sam?
Coach, don't know if you've had a chance to check the tape on the Troy game yet, but what did you feel like Troy was able to do well against Georgia Southern that maybe you guys could take something from for this coming week?
Well, we happened to play Troy before Georgia Southern did, and that's a good football team. That their record was no indication of how good they were. And they started to find their stride in terms of what they wanted to do in terms of running the football. And I think it showed. I think the same thing that we found out, they found out. They're a little bit better than their record. They're better defensively than their record, and they're much better on offense doing what they are doing now.
And then, Coach, you're sitting here, 2 weeks left in the season, one game away from bowl eligibility. How important is, making that bowl game for your team? And is that something you talk about with the players, or do you just kind of talk about the opponent and let that take care of itself?
Yeah, it's very important for your program, obviously, to get bowl recognition, to be able to get some more practice, to get another opportunity to play in a game. And I think we have talked about it. I didn't really last week. It was more about trying to build on the game previous and to play hard and to play with that emotion. But we got 2 guaranteed games left. Every game in the conference is winnable, right? I mean, we've talked about that. There's so many good teams, and you have to come to play each and every week. It's our opportunity for some of the seniors, their last opportunity at home to play on the surf turf. And so I expect us to be ready for the challenge on Saturday and to play really hard. And that's my hope. And when you can get that out of your team, anything can happen. And you just gotta go one day at a time, 1 week at a time, one game at a time. And that's the approach that we're taking heading into this week.
And we'll go over to Adam. Adam?
Coach Beck, you guys did an extraordinary job, I guess, at least on a stat sheet, in terms of bottling up the run against Marshall, a team that's really good at running the ball, and you guys were disruptive in the backfield, 6 tackles for loss. What can you say about your unit collectively and the combined effort in that matchup Saturday?
I mean, I couldn't be prouder. We keep talking every week, and I do different press conferences. I keep talking about the improvement of our defense, and we had a lot of injuries in that, from that Virginia game on to, 3, maybe 4 games into our conference, we had some injuries, and we had to play a lot of different guys, and those guys continue to get better, and they continue to improve, and you keep starting to see it each and every week, and we're figuring those guys what they can do, right? Maybe we can't play man, maybe we can't blitz as much, maybe we got to be an odd front or an even front, and we're finding out what they play better, and then we're putting together a really good package and a really good plan. And our guys are playing hard, and it was a tremendous effort. We had a couple linebackers go down during the game with injuries, and the guys had to step up and play. And I'm really proud of those guys. They did a great job.
All right. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Tough game Saturday. Gets a really good opponent, Auburn. Thought our guys, we came out. We battled. We won a lot of first and second downs, in our opinion, early on defense. We weren't really able to get them off the field. They were, I think, at one time, 8 of 10 on third downs. So we weren't really able to get the big stops. Offensively, I thought that, the speed and the power and the environment maybe handled it. We weren't settled in that first drive, really the first 2. And then after that, we were able to move the ball and get some first downs and execute a lot better. As the game went, I felt like obviously we had opportunities that we drove down, we just didn't execute. We had some lack of execution on offense. But I thought our guys, there was a lot of positives. I thought a lot of guys stepped up and made a lot of plays and really stepped up to that moment. In the second half, I thought we were able to get a great drive going, being able to punch it in. And then, on the third down, they were able to go right back down the field, and we weren't able to capture that momentum. But, Auburn had a lot to do with that. I think they've got a very underrated football team just because of the record. I think they're really good on defense. Their offensive line and backs and receivers, they've just turned the ball over. So give those guys a lot of credit. They played really well in situational football, especially. But obviously, we're ready to move on and go back into conference play.
All right, appreciate that, Coach. We'll start off with Sam. Sam?
Coach, how difficult is it to step out of conference late in the season, particularly against an autonomy opponent here at the end? And how do you focus on some of those positives that you mentioned that come out of that game as you try to get your team ready for these last two conference matchups?
I've been in these before in 2014 at Arkansas. In 2018, we went to Texas A&M game, late in the game. I think it was ended up being week 11. I just don't think I don't agree with that. If you're building a Sun Belt program to be a consistent bowl champion and to compete for Western championships and conference championships, you don't schedule an SEC opponent that late because it gives yourself a chance to physically put you at risk. And year one of where we're at and bringing in all these new guys, and this team, we were thin, and you don't have an off season. You get a lot of guys that are playing for you in June. Physically, obviously, college football takes a toll on everybody. But I just don't agree with playing an SEC team that late in the season when you're in a situation like us and we're fighting to get bowl eligible, and you're hoping to get out of that game with the guys that you do have left. But it's college football. It's a physical game, and it's what it is. But there were a lot of positives. I thought a lot of guys stepped up and played at a high level. I thought our offensive line, as the game went, we were able to I wouldn't say handle, but we were able to hold our own against a really good defense. That's a defense that gives up 19 points a game in SEC play. They've just had 23 turnovers going into our game. They've had 13 fumbles and 10 interceptions. And if we had that, we wouldn't have 5 wins right now. So I think they're young. They're going to be good. But we had a lot of guys gain confidence in that game. I hope the speed and the power helps us for this next Saturday.
And then as you look forward to this weekend, Arkansas State's coming off a game in which they rushed for 284 yards. What's how would you plan to slow them down in the running game this coming weekend?
That's something now that, we've got back into conference play with guys that physically that we at least match up with. We've got to stop the run first. They can throw it too. Now they've got some really good receivers. They've got Rucker, who's top 4 in the conference. That's a big threat. And they've got 3 other receivers that can really play too. But the thing that you got to be careful of is Rahne, quarterback. He had over 100 yards rushing. He was their leading rusher and really made a lot of big plays for him with his legs. And he's that kind of player. I mean, he's a 2-year starter. He led them to a bowl game last year. He makes good decisions. He's very athletic. He's a if it's not there, he can pull it down and he can beat you with his legs. So we've got to do a great job of really being able to play both because they can throw it also.
And then, Coach, one more for me, but it seems like, the same guys show up game after game for you guys. Wyatt Williams, Carl Glass Jr. having big games against Auburn. What does it say about those guys as players that week in and week out they're able to show up and come up on the stat sheet for you?
I think it speaks volumes. I mean, you look out there and Wyatt Williams is playing probably one of his best games of the year, and Carl Glass. And you just saw, I thought Travel Randall made some really big plays. I thought even Corian Wilson, I know that we're playing against some probably 3 NFL draft picks here in the next couple of years with Coleman and Thompson. And those guys are really good players. They're 5-star receivers for a reason. But I thought those guys really stood up and made some plays. I thought Cedric Langston got some valuable reps and made a lot of plays. I thought our defensive line really fought because they got a lot of 3 and 4 yard gains, and we got them into several 3rd and longs, 3rd and 9+, but I think they completed 7 of them. So it's tough. So, we were able to win a lot of first and second downs, but we couldn't hold up, in 3rd downs versus those guys at times. So it's what it is. But offensively, I thought our offensive line continued to battle. We had some receivers step up and make some plays. So Ahmad made some good runs. James made some good runs. So our tight ends were in good moments. So there were a lot of positives from it. It's just it's not something I think that's valuable, for a Sunbelt program week 10. So, but that's what it is. And we move forward and we got to get ready for Arkansas State, a really good Arkansas State team.
Got time for one more. We go to Wes Pruitt. Wes?
Thanks, Coach. We've been talking with you all season, and there's one thing about you, and it's passion. You seem to have a lot of passion in what you do, who you are, and especially about this program. I know the season is not done yet, but what is it about this season that's been so special to you on a personal level as a football coach?
I think really just being able, again, to come into a community and to come into a town and a university that's starving, for success and that's been on hard times. And I truly believe it's about people, and I mean that it's about our players, it's about our fans, it's about our students. And the thing that's, I think up to this point now, it's been that we've shown that we can be successful here at ULM. We can have a winning program. We can be a consistent bowl, contender and the culture. But the thing that's probably the most up to this point that I've been, proud of, so to speak, is our team's toughness, and our team cares about each other, and our team plays for each other, and we play with a purpose, and that's, to turn this program around and to help bring light to this university. And it's about uplifting people and showing them, building confidence in them, self-esteem in them, and showing them how you can be successful in life and on the field. And our kids are bought into that, and we're doing that, and we're fighting, and we're still in it. I truly believe life is the trials and tribulations of what you go through. And if you persevere through it, you have that opportunity to come out of it in the end with success.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Appreciate your time, Coach.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you and what you do.
Yeah, a good win for the program. Obviously, in an in-state rivalry game, I thought was, our guys showed up and did a really nice job, good atmosphere, and just were able to execute and get a victory. Obviously, a huge test on a phenomenal opponent in what seems to be an even bigger rivalry game from what I understand. I haven't been here for it, but obviously there's a whole lot in here that I think both teams, are excited about this opportunity to get down there and play. So sold out crowd, nice and cold, all the things that come with it, and excited for the opportunity.
I appreciate that, Coach. We'll start off with Mike Barber. Mike?
Morning, Coach.
Morning, Mike.
You've talked before about, your offense kind of going as if you can stay ahead of the chains and how important protection is. How would you evaluate the development of the offensive line? And I know there were the 3 sacks on Saturday, but there seemed like there was a lot of times that Alonzo had a chance to drop back and settle.
Yeah, I think he did a really good job. I thought they did a really good job. I think, it takes a minute to gel together, as and not that it takes a minute to gel together, just the rotation of guys we had going through with injuries. We're down to, our starting guard, our backup guard, another, player at one point in time. And I think to, be able to be in a position to get some back, certainly helped, continue with the communication on that front and just the, continue to solidify that group overall. But I thought really Alonzo had a lot to do with it as well. His ability to get protections right, his ability to see things properly from rotations to fronts to whatever it is that we're working on throughout the week. And then honestly, to be able to take things that we did poorly in the past and whether the other team is doing them or not, just continue to rep them because they're going to show up. And I think those were the things that we've made the biggest improvements in, moving forward here. So I thought our offensive line did a great job. I thought, again, we were in, better situations on 3rd down, and which enabled us to be able to, just continue to get some first downs. There was a large stretch of that game, though, that we had 6, 3rd down misses in a row that led to 6 punts in a row in the middle of that game. And, not ideal, but I like the way we came back.
Obviously you want a group that just loves playing and loves practicing, but this time of year it can kind of drag if you don't have anything on the line. How much does it help that you guys are in the hunt for a division title, all the things that are happening? How much more, I don't know, vigor is there at practice because of that?
I think that, the sand in the hourglass, like, it gets turned over and starts falling as soon as you put the ball on the tee in week one. And I think we all know that we're running out of sand here, right? We're running out of time together. And when you bring that many people together and you have a lot of guys have one last shot at it, I don't know that, any records matter. I think the time that's left is what is the most valuable. And that's where we really want to, spend our emotion and our excitement is being with each other, through this week, then through the Thanksgiving holiday, and then through whatever might, come out of it after that. But we don't control any of that. We just control what we get a chance to do every single day. And I just really love this group. I love these guys. I think bringing watching them gel and come together from just all different parts of the country, all different walks of life, it's just a special group. And I just love the way that they continue to compete and kind of continue to band together.
And if I could sneak in one more, when Wayne scores twice against Georgia State, do you kind of have a feeling that Ymir is going to do something big to kind of keep the order there?
Well, yeah, and I think the one Ymir fell down in the Georgia State one, right? And there was they were on each other, but then Wayne, broke one over here, didn't get in, and it's fun watching them on the sideline too, because they are constantly going at each other and trying to uplift each other, but really just get on one another when they don't score, when something else. They keep it really positive and really fun, and they love playing this game, and I think it's pretty special when you get to play it together.
Good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go over to Sam. Sam.
Coach Chesney, I know you haven't gotten the chance to experience this matchup yet, but you talk a little bit about the burgeoning rivalry between JMU and App State. Obviously, 4 straight one-possession games. Both of the Sun Belt matchups have been one possession. Coming off of your in-state rival with ODU, how great is it to have such rivalries within your division in the Sun Belt, and obviously brings another, fan attention to the game, if nothing else?
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, that's a very committed community, as what we have here, and I think it's a pretty cool opportunity when you have a chance to play, against a team that's, has that history and that tradition and has been the standard for a while. And I think that's really one of the things that we're, excited to get a chance to go down there and compete against them. And just, again, the atmosphere, I'm excited to feel it myself, and I just know what it's going to be like. I know what it's like here, and I imagine that it's very similar down there. So I'm excited to get that opportunity. And I'm excited for our guys.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
You got it.
Statement.
Yeah, really, really good win for our guys. Getting that 6 wins always huge, and checking the box off your preseason goals, and can't lose sight of getting bowl eligible. Back-to-back years is something special, and really happy for our guys and those seniors getting another opportunity to go play in a bowl game. So that'll be fun. Questions?
All right, we'll start off with Wes Pruitt. Wes.
Hey, Coach. We spoke earlier in the year about Lincoln Parrott when he had just coming off his injury. We've watched him this year. What are some things Lincoln can do to become more involved in this offense?
Yeah, I think he's a great teammate and continues to go out there and play really well. So we're excited about Lincoln, and he brings another dynamic, and we have a bunch of really good backs, and I think that's tough on defenses when you got 4 backs that go out there and contribute, and I think 3 of the 4 scored this week, and then last week Dion was our leading rusher, so we got a bunch of really good backs that provide us a lot of different looks.
I'll go over to Jacob Rodriguez. Jacob.
Yeah, Coach, congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
This is kind of a follow-up from when I talked to you on Saturday. You said it was a huge weekend for recruiting, probably the biggest ever. Do you have a ballpark number of how many commits you've had so far or anything like that?
Yeah. Don't want to put out there, we got a couple flips, and so I wanted to, make sure that they're able to talk to those other schools and do all that. So, it was a good weekend though.
Go over to Adam. Adam.
Coach, Saturday's game in Southern Miss, you guys had an opportunity to play a lot of guys, just, the way the game kind of went. Were there any players that you felt, kind of got maybe their first dose of extended playing time that you were really impressed with?
That Camden Grogan played well, on defense, had a hiccup early in the game, but I thought he played really well. Someone that stood out to me. Jeremy Jackson's another, true freshman that got out there and got some playing time now. Brad Jackson continues to play well when given an opportunity. Like Drew Donnelly, scoring that long touchdown was awesome for the room and awesome for that kid that's battled a lot and injuries and that kind of deal. Cam Washington's another guy that I think he had 3.5 TFLs. And just a guy that, is coming off ACL. So it's good to kind of, he's healthy and can contribute, on the D line. So I would say those guys.
Hunter, I saw a physical hand go up. I didn't know if you were trying to get my attention or not. I just want to make sure that you had the opportunity to ask a question if you did. All right, if not, we'll go over to Sam. Sam?
Coach, is the hat today a nod at all to this past week and getting the chance to jump in and also just, what are traditions like that for your program and what you're trying to build at Tech State? How important are those and how great is it to get to a bowl game in back-to-back years and be able to jump in like that?
No, it just happened to work out that way, I guess, but that's thanks for picking up on that. No, it's awesome, man. You get that 6th win, something that hasn't been done here, before we got here, man. And so getting that and be able to jump in that river with those guys afterwards and just to see the happiness on their face and to go out there and play like we did. And because it's tough, there's a lot of pressure getting that 6th win. You look around, college football, a lot of guys get stuck on 5, and to go out there and play the way we did, get that 6th win is huge. And just really happy for those seniors, man, and that leadership council to go extend their season and get some more time with them. And I think that's probably been the biggest difference this last couple of weeks, man, is just playing for each other. And we got a bunch of guys in that locker room that love their coaches and love each other, man. And playing for each other is it's always fun, especially in November. People remember November, so it's been good to go out there and play the way we have.
And then last one for me, Coach, but as you look ahead to Georgia State, they've got a dynamic playmaker in Ted Hurst that seems to find a way to get the ball and to score every week. How do you try to slow down a guy like that on defense? And is it something where you just kind of maybe understand that he's going to get his and try to slow down the rest of the offense?
Yeah, I'll have to dig into it a little bit more. Started on their defense, this morning. So tonight after radio show and stuff, I'll get going more on their offense. So I'll have a better answer for you. Obviously, I've seen the crossover a little bit, and he's a really good player, and the stats speak for themselves, and so we'll have to get in there and get a really good game plan for their whole offense, and especially him.
Thank you. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Definitely disappointing loss this past weekend. Got to flush that game, and we have. Just moving on to Texas State. They have a very solid football team on both sides of the ball and in the kicking game. Defensively, they're very good up front. I think they got 4 really good D linemen, secondary tackles well, bring a lot of different pressures and keep coverage in the back end, and very disciplined sounding what they're doing. Offensively, quarterback kind of makes them go. The running back is very explosive. They got 3 really good receivers and a tight end, in my opinion, and their O-line is big and physical. They run a lot of gap scheme plays, and I still got to do more digging on both sides of the ball to get more detail on what they're doing in all 3 phases. But from the appearance of everything, we have our work cut out for us, and we have to play very clean, very sound, play with physicality, and try to control the clock as much as possible.
All right, thank you, Coach. We'll open it up here to questions. Start off with Sam. Sam?
Coach, when you see a team coming off a game with 703 yards of total offense, how do you kind of prepare for that? And is that something where you just kind of look at the, maybe holistically on their season rather than this last game in terms of, what they do well? And then what do you guys feel like you guys will have to do well in order to be competitive this weekend?
No, I don't really look at the stats from the previous game. That team's Southern Miss was totally different than us. But ultimately, they do have a very good football team. We're going to play our best in order to stay in the game. We got to get first downs on offense, try to control the clock as much as we can, try to limit explosive plays and play really good third down defense and try to get them in more predictable situations. So it's more so what we can do with the available players we have and just put a really good game plan in all three phases to try to come out with a win.
And then, Coach, how important is establishing the run to your team? It seems like the games you guys have been most successful has been the games where you've been able to get the running game going, whether that's been Freddie or Dukes. But how important is that for you guys this weekend?
Yes, everything. I mean, we can't sit back and throw the ball 50 plus times a game. We hadn't had a really good result when that has occurred, and we definitely got to figure out a way to run the ball and, throw some RPOs. I think that's an extension of the run game, but we just got to win first downs. And when we don't, we have struggled in games and had to rely on the pass and not having balance that you need in offense. And it's going to be a very big challenge for our O-line against this bunch. So we just got to be very creative in what we're going to do from a game plan standpoint and try to maximize what we have available from a player standpoint.
And we'll go over to Adam. Adam?
Coach, you've been able to Josiah Robinson's a guy that he's played a lot of snaps, especially the last 3 weeks, but he's really made a big step this year in terms of playing at the center of your defense. Just what can you say about him and his growth so far here, especially in the last month or so?
Yeah, he's been playing solid, but he still has a lot of improvement to go. He's a smaller linebacker with great speed and pretty good instincts, and his growth is a continuing. And along with Domain Wilson, who's also been playing a lot more as an inside linebacker, and there's gonna be a different game plan, different keys in this game, and we got to make sure that we dial in all those details and put our best effort from a mental and physical approach.
All right, thank you, and thank you, Coach. Do appreciate your time today.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, tough loss for our football team. Credit to Coach Barker and Troy. I thought played a really good game. Since their philosophy shift offensively over the last 3 games, you see a ground attack that is very strong. And I thought Caldwell played just an unbelievable game, especially on third down at the quarterback position, and made a couple more third down plays than we did. Obviously, that takes us to a point where 2 games left, and you look at us, Marshall and James Madison, trying to fight for this first place position in the East. We've got to do what we can, control what we can control, and try to play a good Coastal Carolina team at their place and respond, trying to go 1-0 on the week. So with that, I'll take any questions that you got.
All right, appreciate that, Coach. Just a reminder to our members of the media, if you have questions, just something reactions, and raise your hand. We'll be more than happy to call on you. We'll start off here with Sam. Sam?
Coach, what do you guys need to do to maybe be able to possess the ball a little bit more? Obviously, Troy had won that time of possession against you guys this past weekend. Felt like that was a key to the game for them, was possessing the ball, keeping your defense on the field. How you guys try to combat that and maybe possess the ball a little bit more this weekend against Coastal?
Yeah, I was really worried coming into the game against Troy about the run game, and you saw, any team that can rush for 330 yards in a game is a dangerous football team. And so I thought our first and second down efficiency defensively was really good. They get 41 carries on the day. The number that our goal was 150 yards or less with 40 plus carries, and we were able to get 153, which was 4 yards less than 4 yards a carry. Where we were not good efficiency wise was on third downs. They were 11 of 14, and most of them were in that 3rd and 4 to 8 range. It wasn't even really 3rd and short, and that's where the quarterback and the receivers came into play. I thought they operated really well on third down and kept drives alive, and then they protected the ball really well. We really felt like we were going to have to steal a possession somehow, some way. We didn't get that turnover. They have high third down efficiency. They didn't hurt themselves in the special teams game, and that's what good ball control teams do, and they've really become one over the last 3 games. Credit to Coach Parker and his staff.
And then, Coach, you talked a little bit about, basically being in the race here at the end of the year. How important is that for your guys? Obviously, you're coming off a tough loss, but realizing you're still right there in the divisional race and still have a lot of your goals ahead of you. How do you keep guys focused and kind of reset going into this week?
Yeah, we've had an ultimate goal of a championship. Our first 2 years here, we've been a postseason team, in bowl games, or again this year. We know our destination, and I think the biggest thing is to concentrate on the journey, and that journey is in Myrtle Beach. We've got to try to fight as hard as we can against Coach Beck, Coach Niver, who are 2 really great veteran coaches, both offensively and defensively, and try to stop a balanced offensive attack from Coastal Carolina and an ultra aggressive defense. Knowing Coach Niver like I do, good friends with him, was on my staff at USC, 2 of the premier veteran coaches, I think, in the country. And so we've got a huge challenge ahead of us.
And we'll go over to Adam. Adam?
Coach, you just started to allude to it there at the end of your last statement, but Coastal Carolina this weekend, they just did a pretty outstanding job bottling up the run against a Marshall team that really likes to run it. And, is that going to be something that you guys have to pay a lot of attention to in terms of developing your passing offense this week?
Yeah, it jumped off the page at me when I saw the score. You go and immediately you look at the box score and you go, "Oh my God, 35 yards! How did this happen?" And really, credit Marshall. They get the turnovers in the game. They create some big special teams play. One with a kick return down to the 2-yard line. They get a blocked field goal, for a touchdown. So they were opportunistic as far as turnovers and some great special teams play. And that was a separation in the game. I thought defensively, Coastal did a really good job. We've played that Marshall offense. It's hard to stop, and to shut that running game down to 35 yards is a great performance by them. So, we're going to have to, help and support a quarterback with the run game. So we're going to have to, be efficient within it to be able to support a quarterback.
And we'll go over to Alan. Alan?
Hey, Coach, I don't know how much time you've had to prep for Coastal yet, but if you've had some, have you seen any change in their offensive approach since Tim Beck took over the play calling duties a few weeks ago? And what about their offense would be the most concern for you?
Yeah, Alan, is a good observation. I think they're kind of in transition. They still have some aspects of the Coastal Carolina spread option that they've known in the past, but they're also bringing that pro-style offense that Coach Beck knows. And you can see a mixture of both, which makes it hard. Probably the biggest fear is they have a really, really talented runner that they're average 170 yards rushing a game. And they marry that up. I think Ethan's playing good ball at quarterback. And Coach Beck has always created balance within his offense, where you just can't hone in on one thing. He takes what the defense gives him, and you can see that starting to come to play. You can see a shift in his fingerprints on the offense. So you got to kind of marry up both schemes right now, which makes it a hard day for Coach Bailey.
All right. Thank you, Alan. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you, guys. Hail Southern.
Yeah, coming off of a tough one last Saturday, played really poorly in the first half, and then I think played great the second half, but you got to put it all together. And I think for our team, I think 6 of the last 8 quarters we've played have been really good. It's been really good football. But, we said it before, I say it all the time, in this league, everybody you play, man, you better show up week in and week out, and you better have your foot on the gas from the beginning. And we didn't. Didn't see that coming. Thought we had a great week of work. Pre-game, everything. Thought we were really focused and ready to go. Got hit in the mouth a little bit, and it took us too long to respond. So we certainly got to turn the page quickly. I don't know if there's a team that's maybe hotter than what Troy is right now in the last 3 weeks. They've put it together and they found a formula to win. They've lost some close games early in the year. They're finding a way to win them now. And, you can tell they have a lot of confidence. They've kind of shifted their gears a little bit offensively. They're protecting the football. They're running it really well. they're keeping their defense off the field. And I think their defense, when they're fresh, their defense has played really well against everyone they've played. So, for us, it's we need to put our we need to put our blinders on. We need to go to work this week because this is the most important game of the year for us. And we're playing a team that certainly is on fire right now.
All right. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate that. We'll start off with Sam. Sam?
Coach, in this era of the transfer portal, how important is it, and what does it say about a guy like Chandler Fields that he stuck around and competed and battled for that quarterback position for you guys? And then how would you assess his performance coming in the second half and really leading you guys on a huge comeback? Obviously fell just short, but felt like he had a great second half for you guys.
People like Chandler define the culture of your team. In a landscape right now where everybody wants something given to them, they want it all guaranteed ahead of time. Between Chandler and Ben, all they were promised was an opportunity to compete to be the guy, and that's all they asked for. And in August, whenever I told Chandler that I was going to go with Ben, he looked me in the eye, he said, "Hey, I'll be ready when you need me." And I told him, I said, at some point, we're probably going to need you, and every week he's prepared. Week in and week out, like the starter, he's practiced at a very high level. And then in the second half the other night, when Ben went down, certainly that's a gut punch to everybody. But there was no doubt there was no hesitation. There was no reservations by anyone about what Chandler was going to be able to go and do for us. And he played really well. Led some really good drives, 2 touchdown drives that were huge at the end of the game, and gave us a chance there. If we execute a little bit better on the 2-point play, we're going to be playing for overtime. So you can't really put into words, I don't think, the way you feel about people like Chandler. And I've said this from the beginning of the year. I'm so grateful and appreciative of him and Ben for staying here whenever that's a rarity today. They've made our entire team better. Their competition in fall camp made our whole team compete. It made our entire team better. It made them all compete. And it's given us an opportunity to be where we are right now. And certainly there's a lot of work left to do for us, in these next couple of weeks to get what we want in the end. But they've given us an opportunity to get there. And could not be more grateful and thankful, for Chandler and what he's done for our team.
And then, Coach, as you look ahead to Troy, it seems like they've found the combination on the offensive line and have really been able to run the ball well these past 2 or 3 weeks. What do you do to try to slow down a team like that on defense?
Well, I think, what they've gotten into is they're trying to get ahead of the sticks. They're trying to be efficient, and they're trying to get to third and manageables. And when they're doing that, I want to say they're about 50% right now on conversion downs or on third downs. So they've got a good formula right now. You're going to have to create some negative plays, which is not easy to do, and especially the way they're playing. They're tight splits, not a lot of air in between the gaps. They're big. They do a good job covering you up. They try to get some knockbacks. So, we're going to have to be, I guess, aggressive on first and second down. And we're going to have to get them behind the sticks and make them spread it out and try to throw it. I think, certainly not that they can't do that, but that's just their formula they've found right now is that they're going to try to get ahead of the sticks. They're going to get to third and manageables, and they're going to convert them, and they're going to eat clock and keep going. So we're going to have some guys that get off the blocks and make some plays. We're going to have to knock it back a little bit. We're going to have to tackle well. I think they've got backs that are running the football really well. They're very patient. Certainly they got guys they can throw it to as well. But right now their formula, run it effectively, get ahead of the sticks, and you got to try to combat that, and you got to try to create some negative plays on first and second down.
And we'll go over to Adam. Adam?
Yeah, Coach, you guys got behind early Saturday, but, South Alabama was able to put together some sustained drives, and then you guys were able to sort of flip that script in the second half. But what can you say about your defense, with your offensive sustained drives being able to, get them to sort themselves, but also for them to perform in the second half and how vital they were in that game Saturday?
Well, I told our team this after the game. I've never been more proud of an effort from a team, and the whole time I've been around football. We were getting our tails kicked in the first half. We got in there, it was 24-3 at halftime. We haven't been there in a long time. And, there was a choice that had to be made. It was either we go out and we go fight and we go try to come back and go win this thing in the second half, or we just say, hey, today's not our day. The first half, I mean, it was just, we didn't get a whole lot of breaks. Nothing went our way. It was kind of one of those deals. It'd have been easy to kind of fold it up and say, well, look, we'll just play for the next two and try to win the next two and try to get in. But that's just not what our team's about. And, our defense, when we came out the first drive of the second half, and I saw the way we competed and played, I said, we're going to be fine. We drove the ball pretty well the whole game. I mean, even the first half, the first drive, I should have kicked a field goal. We kick a field goal. That's the difference in the game. So, certainly I'm not sitting here saying that, the players need to do this. I mean, I need to coach better. I didn't get us in the end zone. We had some contested catches in the gold zone we didn't make. We had some plays where I didn't think were great play design down there that they had answers for. So we all got to do our jobs a little bit better. But the belief and the effort and the fight in this team is there. And, I know now more than ever that we have a championship caliber team. We have a championship caliber mindset and fight in this team. Now we got to go fight, and we got to do it for 4 quarters, and we got to go fight for what we want and for what we work for. Certainly no one's going to give us anything. We know that. But if we'll play with the type of effort we played in, like I said, the second half of last week's game, we'll be just fine. We'll be where we want to be in the end, but you got to put a whole game together.
And to follow up, and it's something that you kind of just said there, which I know was certainly the objective Saturday, was to clinch the division. You didn't get that, but you just said you have the belief that you have a championship caliber team. Is there a moment this year when you thought that moment became like, yeah, that's it. Like we have it. Like, was there a moment that you can think back to that you thought that became a reality to you?
I think that little stretch where we had 4 out of 5 games on the road. I mean, it seems like everybody we played this week was coming off of a bye week too. I mean, so we're on the road. You got teams coming off of bye weeks. You got all these things. I think that stretch, when we handled that stretch well, because early in the season, you kind of look at the schedule and you kind of look at that middle stretch and say, Jesus Christ, like this is 4 out of 5 games here are going to be on the road. This is going to be difficult. I mean, you got Southern Miss on the road, which I know that's always been historically difficult for us to win that game on the road. Coastal on the road for their homecoming. Texas State on a Tuesday night at their place, which is a great environment. That was a game that a lot of people had circled from the beginning of the year. When we handled that stretch well, it was like, okay, well, I don't think as a coach you ever look too far ahead, because it's 1 week at a time. And, 1 week you go from being the best team in the country and everybody's talking about it to the next week you're terrible and, you can't coach, can't play, all that stuff. So it's 1 week at a time. I felt early on that we had the team that could do it. We just had to handle some things with maturity better than we did last year, and we have so far. So, we got to handle a tough loss really well this week. We got to use it to motivate us. We got to get ourselves back on track, and we got to get back to playing our brand of football. But I mean, I think week to week, anyone in this league can win. I think we've done it really consistently. We've got to do that for the next 2 weeks. We got to prepare the way we're supposed to, and we got to go out there and we got to go play our brand of football. And if someone beats you when you're doing that, well, you tip your hat and you can handle that. But when you don't play very well, those are the ones that are hard to swallow. So for us, like I said, 6 of the last 8 quarters we played were really, really good football. We just got to get to doing that more consistently.
Thank you. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
Yep, thanks.
Yep. Good to see everybody again already to now week or game 11. Would quickly say what a great environment for another wonderful Sun Belt game in a venue that I'd never personally been to before, but knew a lot about in the history of being a part of growing up around Marshall's program and knowing the tradition of Georgia Southern and all that those rivals. It was really cool to go to a place and be at a venue like that. It's a special place, and a lot of respect to Georgia Southern, Coach Helton and their staff and players, and of course, really proud for our program to go on the road and get a quality win in a tough league. So with that, I'll open up to questions.
Appreciate that, Coach. Start off with Adam. Adam?
Coach Parker, the confidence in your locker room right now. You guys have had to play. You've faced a lot of adversity this year. You've had to play a lot of different guys, especially the quarterback position. But Can you talk about the confidence level in your locker room right now and what's sort of been breeding that? Obviously, the results have been helpful, but other things that happen in a locker room that have really sort of been able to spark this spark for your team?
Yeah, I think you know, for anything you have to do, there sooner or later there's got to be a result of winning or what you're working for to happen, or it's hard for any generation or anybody to have a true belief in what's going on. I would say that we're thankful that those things have started to happen for us, so our players would continue to realize why it's so important for improvement. All we've tried to do, and thank God to us, our staff and players have committed to just improvement and haven't flinched when times were pretty bleak and it was tough to maybe see a ray of sunshine, and they stayed to it. And now when you get a little bit of winning ways and some things to go your way, you double down on what those practice habits look like, your preparation, all the things that you realize are the reasons that maybe there's improvement in play. And when you've been, I said this after the game, I think when you've been at the lowest of low points, maybe in life and in football, once you've seen that, I think it's hard to learn who somebody is or who a team is until you get to that point. Sometimes you get the beauty of getting to some rosters or being a part of some teams where you don't have to go there, but you don't know your team or know people until you go through the ugly. So I'm not saying that it was fun. I'm simply saying that I'm glad I know who our staff is and who our players are and how we're going to respond to the ugliest. And I think now that we know that, we know both sides and maybe feeling some pretty cool things in the locker room, but also the dark. And we also know that it's pretty fleeting and it can go the other way very quickly. So that's that.
We'll go over to Sam. Sam?
Coach Parker, we talked last week about having the opportunity to face some great opposition these last few weeks of the season. Obviously, just knocked off what was the East Division leader. Have another chance this weekend against the West Division leader in Louisiana. What do you feel like you guys will have to do really well to be competitive against Louisiana this weekend?
Well, they've got, you know, their roster. I think they have 7 redshirt seniors starting for them on offense. It's a ton on defense. He's done a great job. Their staff has done a great job building their roster with high school players and then supplementing top to bottom. It's as pretty a football teams we played all year. We have our hands full. That's it. So we'll have to put together great game plans and let them understand what we're dealing with and what they have in personnel and scheme. The loss is nothing to discuss about. That's you know, what they'll have to deal with. We've dealt with a lot on our own. We got our own problems. They'll have no issues having their team ready to go, and what they've seen, what we've already seen on crossover and starting our game plans. We're going to get their best, and that's what championship type teams do, and that's what they have over there. So this is going to be a tall task. We're very aware, and it's our jobs to find a way to make it a fourth quarter game and continue some improvements for our November.
And then, Coach, how important has finding that combination on the offensive line been to the success over the last 2 or 3 games in terms of being able to run the ball really well?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we talked about it now as this has all come down the stretch. We've been able to start the same 5 guys together, which has built a sense of camaraderie and brotherhood that those guys need, especially your offensive linemen, because they're all on a string together in how we ID and function. That alone has been huge. And then, of course, putting guys in better positions and the unselfishness of a Daniel King that I've already alluded to several weeks now, and the things we've done to put ourselves, it's our jobs to put our guys in positions to play better, right? And that's stuff that's happened. And then you just have to simply ask why or why not, you know. And unfortunately, to start the year, we had a bunch of why nots. But it's our jobs to get answers as to why and make it better. And you know, we're seeing some of that.
And then last one here for me, Coach, but Chandler Fields came in for Louisiana the second half, obviously led Louisiana on the big comeback this past week. Certainly he's a quarterback that's played in this league before, but maybe not as much this season since you've been here. But what kind of unique challenges does he present in comparison to Ben Woldridge, their starter?
Well, an even more heightened awareness of what he can do with his feet and how he scrambles up and out so well and finds wideouts. He's very creative when he gets up and out and scrambles, and he can run. So it's a problem. Yeah, I think it's pretty quick to see. You flip on the film and it's not like, okay, this is a backup. It's not a backup. He's a veteran who's done it before, as you had stated, and he showed that as soon as he came in. There was no hesitation or this was bigger than him. So it's pretty quick to see that that's the type of player and guy. He was very prepared, which is again is a testament to him and the staff for having him prepared to come into the game.
And we'll go over to Adam. Adam?
Yeah, Coach. More about your quarterback, Matthew Caldwell. You know, he completed over 80% of his passes, 32 attempts Saturday. Some big chunk plays, you know, getting some 25+ yard plays. How how effective do you think those plays played into a role into your victory, but also just about Matthew's growth himself and just being able to have his confidence and that camaraderie with his receivers to make those plays possible?
Well, you know, there's been a great growth and progression for him. I mean, he came to us this summer really on a whim of trust and blind faith in us and is walking on this semester. You know, I mean, that's the facts. He is not on scholarship right now. And to come in and have some blind faith and want to be a part of another program and stay in state and do what he did, who would have thought it would ended up this way? So there's been a constant commitment to him improving, him understanding and trusting us and letting us let him get better and allow him and coach him to be better and us find what he does well. So his improvement has been a progression, as with all of us, including myself first. And it's good for him to see, you know, us finding ways to build trust through his decision-making in the pass game, and then finding ways for us to improve and help a quarterback too, which is finding ways to run the football. So it's been a maturation process of all of us, you know, and again, it starts with me.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Thank you all.
Yeah, not a whole lot to say. You know, we played a really good Texas State team that dominated us on both sides of the ball. We couldn't do enough offensively or sustain drives to keep our defense off the field, and then defensively we couldn't get off the field. And there was times in that game that we did some good things on both sides of the ball, but obviously just looking at the score and the stat line and stuff like that, we just got dominated by a really good Texas State team.
All right, thank you, Coach. Appreciate that. We'll start off with Heath Hinton. Heath?
Hey, Reed, just going into these last two games, how much of I don't want to say a youth movement, but how much of an effort to get those younger Golden Eagles into the games we see, and how much playing time, because, you know, things are the way things have happened, how much playing time are you expecting for those guys?
Yeah, you know, Heath, great question. You know, we've kind of been a youth movement all season. We got a bunch of really good young players that we've been playing, especially on offense. Most of our players are redshirt sophomores and below. And even this last week, we started to play a bunch of our redshirt freshmen, linemen. Joe Cryer got in there as a true freshman his last 2 weeks. You know, did some decent things. But yeah, we're going to continue to play our young players that have deserved or earned the right to play. You know, we've already sat a couple guys. We ended up sitting Jalen Washington last week. He had reached his 4 games, so he's you know, we're going to let him get his red shirt. But we started playing a couple receivers that got a couple more games to play or can play out these 2 games. John White's going to have an opportunity this week to get in the game, a good young quarterback. So yeah, we've been playing a lot of youth all year, and you know, they've earned it, they've deserved it. You know, the older guys, like, you know, they're not getting, I'm not punishing anybody or anything like that, but as guys earned the opportunity to play, we're going to allow them to do it. And these, like I've been saying on here last 4 weeks, our young players on this team are really talented, and they're going to be really good players in this conference, and they're going to have an opportunity to play a little bit these next 2 weeks.
And we'll go over to Hunter. Hunter?
Coach, talk to me about, you know, I know you got a lot of the young guys playing, and I know that you're trying to go through at least every game, one game at a time, situational. When you practice, I know you talked about practice last week. How much situational things are you trying to work with in practice to get these young guys adjusted to the game?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the biggest thing we're doing, Hunter, is that, you know, we do a lot of good on good, a lot of crossover work. You know, we do very little scout team work, so we'll do good on good scout type stuff, run the other team's plays or similar plays to what we do. We, we do a lot of red zone. We do third down. We do coming out. We do as many situations as we can. This part of the year practice wise, but they just need to play football. They need to play football, and the more they play, the better they'll get. There's times we have some guys that play really well. For the most part, a lot of times our young guys struggle, and that's part of it. It feels like it's been that way, especially offensively this entire year. But I see them getting better. I see them playing really, really hard. We did not quit in that game the other day. I didn't know how I felt after the game because once we get dominated that bad, you wonder what the film's going to look like. And they didn't quit. Our players did not quit. We just got beat. And schematically, Texas State does some really good things that we really, really struggled with. And it's our job as coaches to get that figured out and be better. But I do appreciate the way our guys played, and I appreciate. I love the way the young guys play, but they are going to make mistakes. And the more they play, the better they'll get.
Heath, I see your hand still up. You have a follow up there?
Yeah, Reed. I guess I want to talk to you, kind of go the opposite way. There's some guys on this team playing their last home game at the Rock, and some guys who have been in this system for a long time with you guys. And I could just talk a little bit about, with the way the portal is, some guys have been here longer than others, but those guys that have stuck with y'all for the 4 years, can you just talk a little bit about what they mean to you personally, going through all of the trials and tribulations that they've been through in these 4 years?
Yeah, that's Heath. Another great question. That's going to be pretty quick too. We don't have very many guys who've been with us 4 years in this program. So, the guys that have, Kristen Booth, who we brought in 2000, he's probably the oldest player on this team. He's with redshirt senior type year. A guy that's stuck with us, has been a solid contributor, starter for us for 4 years. He's turned to a team leader this year, and we're really proud of him. And you got guys like Chandler Pittman, who he's in his true senior year. He came here in 2001. That's another just solid person that's probably hadn't got the probably played as much as he probably wanted to, but just been with us and stuck it out. And guy like Jay Jones, another 2001 signee that's here, but we don't have a lot of players been here 4 years. Now we're having a lot of guys do senior day, but a lot of those guys have been with us 2 years or a couple 3 years or so. But we want to go out. Those guys have given a lot to our program. It's been a tough 2 years. Last 2 years, it's been a really tough year this year, and we're gonna honor those guys. We're also gonna honor MJ Daniels and his family. Wish he was out there with us, but he'll be out there with us hopefully in spirit. And we're gonna honor those guys, and hopefully they, after what happened last week and the way that game went, I'm hoping we're gonna talk about pride a whole lot this week, about just having pride to show that we're better than what we were last week. We're a better football team than that, and I think we're gonna come out and play well. I really do.
Thank you, and thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sure. Well, appreciate everyone being on here as usual. Very, very appreciative of our staff and our players. I thought it was a really, really good road win for us. I thought there was also a lot of growth associated with the win, but it was not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. We made way too many mistakes in all areas: offense, defense, special teams. And the next challenge is right around the corner with us with ULM. So we have to continue to be a football team and a football program that continues to improve weekly. I did see some steps in that constant evolution of our team, but we're going to have to play much better in all three phases against a ULM team coming in here. So again, appreciative of our efforts. I thought our connection, I thought our players played hard and we made the plays that we needed to at the end of the game. But to be the team that we really want to be in, we have 2 more opportunities to do that. We have to continue to improve.
All right. Appreciate that, Coach. We'll start off with Charles McCray. Charles?
What's going on, Coach?
Hey, Charles.
You guys ran the ball 49 times on Saturday, 261 yards. Just talk about the growth that you're seeing from the offensive linemen, and just talk about the group of backs that you have.
Well, I think sometimes, when you look back at it, your current situation kind of dictates, your current situation kind of dictates kind of who you are at that point in time, kind of your current identity. And to have those individuals now that have played collectively as a group for a number of weeks, I think you see the continuity. I think you see the consistency. We still have to get better in a lot of areas, but I thought our running backs attacked downhill. I think the biggest thing is we took care of the football. We had 0 turnovers. And as we all know, anytime you can be balanced and run the football, that lends itself to taking shots and play passes in the naked game as well. Travis, I have to ask you, are you guys getting a storm there? Holy cow.
No. Just looks dark in here. I apologize.
Okay, it's like you're
I've
in a
already said
cave.
Charlton's name wrong. I got, trying to do too much at one time. So,
Okay, I got you.
Yeah. So the palm trees lie to you sometimes, just windy. We'll jump over to Sam.
Coach, Jalen ran for a career high 114 yards this past week. And was that something you guys identified in the game plan, or just something that he was able to see out on the field and take advantage of during the game?
It was a combination of both. As we wanted to bring another element to our run game. So I think the ability to involve him a little bit more structurally in the game plan, but a lot of it was instinctively too. And, it was the second part of the play, not the first evolution of the play, but the second part of the play where he was able to do some things. So I think it was really a combination of both.
And then, Coach, it seems like your teams always have a dynamic return guy. Each of your past 2 or 3 years, I think there's been somebody on all conference from Arkansas State in the return game. What is it about, in recruiting or development of players on that unit on special teams that your staff has been able to do so well?
Well, we put a lot of stock and emphasis in the special teams game, but Courtney did a really good job of fielding the ball. Its fundamentals and techniques. Really, that's the most important things of playing winning football on special teams. He is able to catch the ball with his shoulder square, get north and south, but it's really, he'd be the first to tell you, it's the other 10 individuals that really make the return come to life, with their different fundamentals that go into it. And, to be able to take the practice to the field and create an explosive play like that, that was really big for us. And that was a big component of winning the game Saturday night.
We'll go over to Jeremy. Jeremy?
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Jeremy.
You've seen a lot of ULM in your tenure here at Arkansas State. Now they got the new head coach with Bryant Vincent. What do they do a little differently that other ULM teams haven't done in the past?
Well, all I can speak of is, what I've seen from this year's team in terms of where they're at. I would think the best word or adjective that probably describes them is efficient. Brian's done a really good job. They have an identity. They know who they are, and they execute it, and they play at a really, really high level. They're giving great effort. They're tough. They're physical. They have playmakers, and they don't beat themselves. I think they shrink the game, and they force you to beat them. And it's going to be a great, great challenge for us. I think the high level of physicality. The way they couple the run game with the outside zone, the inside zone, the different play passes off it structurally, the different formations, some of the screens and throwbacks that they do. And then, when they take their shots, and then, defensively, they're very multiple in terms of their fronts with 3 down, 4 down, some different coverage schemes, play a lot of man coverage, and they're good at what they do. And I think they're a team that believes, and I think they play complementary football. Again, they have an identity, and they play to that identity.
And Jeff, we got time for one more. Go ahead, please.
Coach, I guess one thing you want as a coach is to have a team that has a knack for winning the close games, and you guys have kind of made a living off that this year. Is there anything you think that has led to that, or any type of characteristic this team has that makes them good at that time?
I would just like to refer back to our culture, and I know every coach talks about culture. I think that's probably the most misused term in sports is the word culture. But we spent a lot of time on that. I think the connection, and then I think, trying to put your players in different positions, whether it's got to have it periods, studying end of the game type situations, and giving them confidence because they perform that, whether it's been, in a walkthrough or practice, or in training camp. And I think once you have confidence in that area, it kind of breeds itself confidence. And our players have done a good job of really not flinching. I mean, I thought there was a couple times Saturday night where we could have flinched and we didn't. And I think we're getting really good leadership, and our players believe in each other. And, you can overcome a lot of obstacles. You can overcome a lot of things if you have that culture, if you have that belief, if you have that connection. And, that's what's happening right now is our players really believe in each other and they believe in our program. And, every week is a challenge. Every week is a new season. And I just think if you look at the storylines of the Sun Belt Conference, that's what you see this year. Pretty much every team is equal. And it's, what team has the best week of preparation, the mindset, all that goes into it. This is an extremely challenging and difficult league. It's a week-to-week league.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
Okay, have a great week.
Yeah. Obviously, we didn't play or coach our best football, and we played a good football team in JMU, and so we weren't able to get that win. But we're looking forward to senior day in front of SP Ballard Stadium, which has been awesome crowds all year long, and we know we've got a great challenge in front of us with Marshall. So first place team coming in here, we're looking forward to playing them. Questions?
Appreciate that, Coach. As a reminder to members of the media, if you have a question, just jump in reactions and raise your hand. Start off with Adam. Adam?
Coach, the blocked punt really seemed to set you guys up and get you guys back into that game Saturday. Was there something that you guys saw going into the game that made that, realize that was an opportunity during the game, or was it just sort of a great player making a great play?
Well, it was obviously a great player making a great play, but we did feel like we had an opportunity to get a blocked punt. In fact, I think I kind of mentioned it. I thought we could have had a couple more, and I thought that unfortunately, I'm really excited about blocking one because that's a hard thing to do, but I think we gave some up and gave them something by not having at least one more block in that game.
And then a follow-up to that, I guess, while that was, whether you agree or disagree that was the moment you guys sort of turned things around in the game, was there a moment that you felt James Madison might have had that turned the game around in their favor that you kind of look back on and you're like, that was probably the moment that it got away?
I mean, there's a lot of them that you think about. I don't ever think there's necessarily one moment. There's quite a few of them. I think each person can kind of point to a moment where they could have made an impact. Us not being able to get it to a 10-point game and a two-score game, that was huge. And we had multiple opportunities to get that done in the second half, and we didn't do that. Obviously, recovering the onside kick and then going 3 and out after that, that was a huge turning point in the game. But then we also pinned him down in there one time down to the 3-yard line, and then we let him get out of there and, didn't get the field position we needed to on there. So there's little things here and there, not scoring a touchdown at the end of the first half when we got down there and run 3 plays inside the 5-yard line and don't get a touchdown. Instead, we have to kick a field goal. That was another thing that was obviously not. I knew the middle 8 would be an important part of the game. I thought we managed the clock correctly there and didn't give them the ball back and those sort of things. But obviously, you want to score touchdowns when you're down there. That being said, we were 80% touchdowns in the red zone. To think you're going to be 100% is probably a little bit wishful thinking.
We'll go over to Sam. Sam?
Coach, in taking a look at this last game for Marshall, Coastal was able to really slow down the run game. Is there anything that you saw from them that maybe you guys can use in your preparation for this coming week?
Well, I thought they hit their keys, and I thought they played physical, and you see, and then you saw guys really tackle and not, they weren't diving at legs or whatever. I mean, they were tackling with some force. I think you need to play physical against this team. Coach Huff and the rest of their staff does a nice job of getting their team to play physical. And so we've got to be able to match that physicality. We got to strike our keys. We got to play with violent hands. We got to know our leverage. And they've got to be in a good power position in order to make those tackles and get off those blocks.
And then Coach Rahne, you've been in a position like this before, needing to win 2 games to get bowl eligible at the end of the season. Obviously, we're able to do it last year. Is that something that you talk with the team about at all, or do you just focus on 1 game at a time and focus on Marshall this week and just let that result kind of take care of itself?
Well, we've done it 2 out of the 3 years, that I've been coaching. I mean, no, but you can't ever talk about it in terms of trying. You can't win 2 in a row. That's too hard. You've got to go 1-0. I can't talk about 1-0, the whole time I'm here, and then all of a sudden start talking about 2 in a row. I mean, that'd be, I would hope that my whole team would look at me like I was a crazy person. So you got to win 1 in a row, and obviously we need to be fully focused because this is a very good football team that's coming in here, and we know that. And so we have to be ready and prepared, and it's a great opportunity. They come into our place, and so we're excited to be in front of a good atmosphere, play hard for our seniors in their last home game, and give ourselves an opportunity to go 1-0.
Appreciate that and appreciate your time, Coach. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, stand.
Obviously really appreciative of, in all seriousness, the Sun Belt Conference for allowing us to keep the 75 weekend here in Huntington. That is something that we appreciate, our university appreciates, our community appreciates. I know in the tough days of scheduling that is difficult to do. So that date, that week means a lot to this university and a lot of people here. So we appreciate you guys for doing that. Obviously a phenomenal opportunity to honor such a great moment in history for our program. Hats off to Coastal Carolina, who also participated in honoring those lives of the 75 with us this weekend. A lot of respect for Coach Beck, a lot of respect for their program. A very tough fought game. We were blessed enough for our players to execute well enough for us to come out on top. Got to reboot again. You get in November, you don't really get the 24-hour rule anymore because it's crunch time. So we've been back to work since obviously Saturday night. We played earlier, so we got to get some early work in on Saturday against a really good opponent. Ricky and I joke, but a lot of respect for him and what he's done. Again, you can't just look at records and say, oh, this and that. You got to put the film on. You put the film on, you see that it's a good football team. There's some games where they make some of those plays and opportunities, and then there's some games they miss. So that's not a lack of talent or coaching. That's the way the ball bounces sometimes. We just, we got to be prepared and prepare as if the ball is going to bounce their way. Make sure we're in the right position on all 3 phases. Make sure we have our players prepared for the environment. And then we've got to go out and execute. We've been able to do that in spurts the last few weeks. We got to start putting all these things together. We're running out of time.
Appreciate that, Coach. We'll start off with Wes. Wes?
Hey, Coach. Speaking of last week and honoring what all had happened, 2-part question here. Number 1, as the head coach of Marshall, what does that week mean to you as the head coach? And then number 2, how do you keep your team involved in game activities when you've got all the other emotions and such going on throughout the week?
Yeah, well, me personally, I consider it a huge honor. This is my first head coaching job. So without those 75 and without the people that decided to keep the program alive, I don't have this job. So to me, it's a little bit more special, if that makes sense. For our players, the first year, I didn't manage it correctly. I kind of packed it all into 1 week, and you were right. It is a very emotional weight that you carry because it affects the entire community, not just the football program. So what we started doing, the subsequent years was we started spreading the events out throughout the whole year. So we do some things in the summer to talk about it and educate. We go to the crash site. We go to the cemetery. We watch the movie. We have some people come in and talk about, the effect that it's had. So spreading it out more throughout the year so that our players understand, what it means and how important it is and the value that it brings to our university and how we're able to honor the 75. And then during the week, it's more of a review of the test that we've already taken. Does that make sense? Not just dumping it all in 1 week on top of, an opponent, on top of, dealing with wherever you're at on your team. So that's helped us, spreading it out more through the year. If you looked at it from a calendar perspective, we're probably addressing it once a month in some way, somehow. So that this week is a little bit more, we can focus a little bit more on, the game and the opponent and how we play rather than trying to educate 40 or 50 new guys that have come in.
Thanks, Coach.
Go over to Sam. Sam?
Coach, Coastal was able to slow down your running game a little bit this past weekend, but how satisfying was it for you as a head coach to see you guys be able to win a different way and find other ways to score?
Yeah, and I probably, as the head coach, playing complementary football, I probably managed it to more look like we weren't able to run it as much because what they were doing defensively, they were telling us we should have threw it every time. Well, when you're in those games, it's a little bit easier to, go ball control because of the score, because of how I felt our defense was playing. With that, obviously us knowing and feeling comfortable that, hey, we needed to throw it more, we were able to do that. I think when Braylon did throw the ball, it was a lot more accurate, consistent. We were able to move the ball a different way. And then, again, when you're in these types of games in November, there's going to be teams, ODU's a team that's going to be able to stop the run. So how are we going to be able to play complementary football and create other ways? Do we have to throw it? Do we have to play, basically a shutout defense? The special teams have to get involved. To me, at this point in the season, it's okay, what do we need to do to win this game? And that may change in game. There may be some times, obviously, if the score is different, now you got to say, okay, we got to throw it a little bit more, which may change a little bit of the defense and what they're doing to open up something else. But I think it's about understanding complementary football. As long as you have answers, to me, you're still in a good position to where, okay, they're doing this, we can do this, or we can still try and do X, Y, and Z. This past Saturday, we were in a position where we could have thrown it, but we really didn't need to do it then. Obviously, if the score had changed, if we don't snap the ball over the punter's head, maybe, we would have got to some things. But I felt good about knowing we had answers if we wanted to go that direction, if that makes sense.
That does, Coach. And then last question for me. Now you guys are sitting atop the East Division. How does that, maybe change how you guys are looking at the rest of the season, or how do you try to just keep the guys focused as you have 2 games left, 2 games on the road, trying to win out and close out the East Division?
Yeah, I know it's coaching cliche, but it means nothing. We talked about it at the very beginning. Ultimately, we want to just win every game. So where we're ranked or where we're not ranked doesn't really matter. That's for you guys that do the polls. Hell, you guys picked us 5th. I guess we should be dead, buried, and gone. Really, right now, 5th, like behind 4, above 6, 5th is what you guys picked us. So for us, we're still 5th. I tell guys all the time, you're the 5th best team in the Sun Belt, according to what they say. They're the experts. So we need to try and play a little bit better than 5th is what we try to do every week. Be a little bit better than 5th. And ultimately, if we don't go out and play well this weekend, we'll be 5th, which like you guys said we would be. So that's our motivation, not beating ODU, making the Sun Belt poll selectors wrong. Like that's what we've been breaking it down on. 1, 2, 3, make them wrong. No, but it's really, we just got to go out and play. It doesn't really matter, where we are right now. Obviously, it's out there. I'm not one of these coaches that say my players don't. I mean, they know what's going on. But us, we got to focus on how do we move the ball? How do we stop a really good offense? How do we move the ball against a really good defense? And then how do we find a way to execute consistently enough to get a win on the road against a good team, in a great environment? So, that's really what it focused on. I'm not one of these coaches that's naive enough not to, it's not out there. But I think our team is mature enough to really focus on what matters. What matters right now is having a phenomenal Monday practice, watching film tonight, making sure we do everything we got to do from a academic standpoint to come in Tuesday and try and do it again.
Thank you. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, had a good practice this morning, getting ready for Southern Miss. We'll be playing those guys at 2:00 on Saturday and senior day. Be a tough challenge for us. There's a lot of stuff still out there to play for. We talked about the game, obviously, in Lafayette, not to be dismissive of that. It was a great win for us. Very good opponent. Des just does such a great job with his whole organization, the culture, the way they play. And their character and who they were was on display in the second half, and we were fortunate to get out of there with a win.
Appreciate that, Coach. Just a reminder to members of the media, if you have a question, just go into reactions and raise your hand. We'll start with Adam. Adam?
Coach Applewhite, what can you say about your defense? You guys go into a game preparing to defend Ben Woolridge, and then they have to make the quarterback change after the injury, but then also, just your ability to make some big plays and get off the field, especially, then end of the game, the biggest play of the game, the 2-point conversion, just you felt your defense brought to that matchup and how they had to sort of transition in the middle of the game with that quarterback change by Louisiana.
Yeah. There was a lot of things. Will did a great job, getting them prepared, getting them to understand what they do, why they do what they do. There's a lot of big plays in that game from a defensive standpoint, but 3 of 4 field goals in the red zone, that's winning defense for us. When you can give up 9 instead of 21, that's a big difference. And that's a huge stat. The interception before half, was a very big play. The game was 20, it's a 2-point game. We were able to get a field goal before half. The way they played, the way they extended plays on the perimeter with Woolridge in terms of some of the naked game and stuff like that they do was instrumental in terms of creating some 3rd and long opportunities. Now there's some things we got to get better at. There were some 3rd and longs, some 3rd and 21s that turned into 4th and 3s that turned into conversions that we can't give up. We can't play that style of ball and get you in that situation and then let it up. And at the same time, when they do switch quarterbacks, because we're getting ready to play Ethan, who's similar in terms of escapability and can make you pay with his feet, have to have more lane integrity in terms of what we're doing in the pass rush. We got to make sure we have people in the middle of the field, to be able to handle a quarterback that's escaping through the A and B gaps, because that was able to extend some drives last week. So I'm pleased with our effort, pleased with our physicality, the intensity, but some of the second half execution, myself as a coach, other coaches, players, we have to do better and understand better is required against a great opponent like that, or they will come back and beat you.
And we'll go over to Sam. Sam?
Coach, what changes was Louisiana able to make defensively in the second half to really slow down your offense? I think they held you to 58 or 60 yards in the second half. What changes did they make, or was it just a case of they were able to get you guys off the field?
Well, I don't want to take anything away from them, because that's not what I want to do. They played great defense in the second half. You come out on the first drive and you get a 5-yard penalty and you start off 1st and 15, that puts you behind the chains. Then we had a series where we had 2 drops. We had a drop on a 3rd down that would have put us in a 4th and 3, 4th and 4 go situation. We've got to execute better. It ain't always on the players, it ain't always on the coach. It's always somewhere in between. But we have to find a way to execute better and not get in our own way. The penalties, the 3, motion penalties put us behind the chains. And those are things that you can't do when you're playing the number 1 team on your side of the league at their place. And it's really just simple as that.
And then, Coach, as you turn the page and look towards Southern Miss, how does playing a team like Southern Miss that doesn't have a ton to play for, but is trying to develop guys and talking about getting different guys in there, how does that present a challenge in terms of preparation, in terms of knowing who may be on the field for them this coming weekend?
Yeah, you've seen a lot of rotations. At certain positions, you've seen a lot of people play. At some positions, you see 1 or 2 guys play. But the first thing that jumps off the page is the record doesn't meet the film. It just doesn't match. Like when you watch them on defense, there's good athletes. There's a lot of talent. There's big bodies up inside that can cause issues. They got good pass rushers and Clemens. They got good cover guys, outside, James and others, and safeties who played a lot, Sabatini and those guys who played a lot of football. So the record doesn't really match. And then you see the effort in which they play with. And then you look at games, whether it's a 2-score game with Arkansas State in the 4th quarter, or whether it's a 1-score game with Lafayette at home in the 4th quarter. These are a lot of close games. So the thing that creeps into your mind as a coach is, I hope our players see this. I hope the players understand this, that, so talking to them and helping them understand, explain to them, do y'all feel like y'all are a 5-5 team? No, coach, we think we're better. Okay, well, that's probably the way they feel too, and it's senior day, they're going to be playing with some of emotion. So at the end of the day, it's about us and how we, I'm not trying to sound cliche, but how we practice, how we prepare. and mentally where we're at kickoff at 2:00.
And then last one for me here, Coach. But what do you think it says about the Sun Belt to have 7 of 14 teams within one game of the division leader with 2 weeks left to play in the regular season? What does that say about the depth of this league, the competitiveness of this league, and obviously your team being one of those that's among that?
Yeah, it's a strong league. I mean, I know there's been stats and there's things to prove what I'm saying in terms of what this league is beyond your 10, 12 SEC and ACC, and how this league is consistently year after year performed in bowl games and against, A4 type teams. It's tough. We say it all the time to our players. You can beat anybody in this league and anybody in this league can beat you. So you have to prepare. You have to be ready to go. You have to understand there's going to be ebbs and flows in games, and you got to be strong mentally.
Thank you. And thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time today.
Thank y'all. Have a good one.